Okay, every year around this time, there's really only one question on everyone's mind, right? Is spring finally coming early, or are we stuck with 6 more weeks of winter? Well, the answer supposedly comes from a furry little creature. So let's dig into the real story behind Groundhog Day 2026. Yep, this is the big one. Early spring or more winter? I mean, let's be real. By the time February rolls around, we're all just about done with the cold, aren't we? This one day feels like this little ray of hope, and it's all based on what a groundhog decides to do when it pops its head out of the ground. Kind of wild, right? So, how does this whole thing work? It's actually super simple. Here's the deal. If the groundhog comes out and sees its shadow, because it's a sunny day, then boom, 6 more weeks of winter for us. But if it's cloudy and there's no shadow, then we're supposedly in for an early spring. That's it. Those are the two options. All right, so why a groundhog? And what's so special about February 2nd? You might be surprised to hear this isn't just some quirky American thing. Nope, the roots of this tradition go way, way back to European folklore. So, the version we celebrate here in North America, it's basically an import. Its origins are tied to old European festivals like Candlemas. Think of it like this. These festivals were all about marking the halfway point between the dead of winter and the start of spring. It was sort of their ancient way of checking in, to see how much longer they had to hunker down.
Okay, so there are a bunch of groundhogs who get their moment in the spotlight, but let's be honest. There's only one A-lister in this game. He is the GOAT of groundhogs. Let's talk about the one, the only, Punxsutawney Phil.
I mean, this guy is a legend. He's the most famous groundhog on the planet. He lives in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where he's looked after by this group called the Inner Circle. They're basically his official handlers. And get this. This isn't just a few people standing around. No. Every year, tens of thousands of people show up at this place called Gobbler's Knob just to see him do his thing live. It's a huge party. All right, now here's where it gets really fun. According to his handlers, the Inner Circle, this isn't just a Phil, it's the Phil. The very same one who's been making predictions since, wait for it, 1887. Now, obviously, that's not exactly, scientific. But hey, that's what makes this whole tradition so much fun. It's all part of the legend. Okay, which brings us to the here and now. The big event, the 2026 prediction. What's it gonna be, Phil? And the hype is real. You don't even have to brave the cold in Pennsylvania anymore. Thanks to live streams, millions of us can tune in from our cozy homes, all holding our breath for that single moment. Does he see the shadow or not? All right, we've got the whole scene set up. The history, the celebrity groundhog, the massive crowd. But let's pause for a second and ask the question that's probably on your mind. How often is this little guy actually right? Okay, time to put the fun and games aside for a moment and look at the cold, hard data. It's time for science versus the shadow. Yeah, that number right there, it pretty much tells the whole story. According to folks who actually track this stuff, like NOAA, Phil's accuracy rate is somewhere between 35 and 40%. Let me put that another way for you. You would have a better chance of predicting the weather by just flipping a coin. Ouch. And if you look at his track record over time, it's pretty clear. The number of times he's been wrong is consistently higher than the number of times he's been right. Look, it's fantastic entertainment for sure, but a reliable weather forecast, not so much. And what's interesting is that the data shows Phil is kind of a pessimist. He's predicted a longer winter way more often than an early spring. And it's not just one source saying this. Independent trackers like the Stormfax Almanac have been keeping score for years, and they all come to the same conclusion. His success rate is, well, it's not great. So here's the bottom line. While we're all watching to see if a groundhog sees his shadow, actual meteorologists are, looking at things like jet streams, atmospheric data, and super complex computer models. It's a fun tradition, but let's be clear. It is absolutely not a substitute for real science. Okay, so this brings up the most important question, right? If we all basically know he's wrong most of the time, why do we still care so much? Why is this still a huge deal every single year? Well, it really boils down to a few simple things. It's about tradition, it's about community, and it's about having a little bit of fun. It's this cool link to our past, a way to mark the seasons changing, and honestly, just a great excuse to come together and hope for warmer weather. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We know Phil isn't a meteorologist, but for one day, he gives us this really fun, lighthearted moment that we can all share. It's a chance to just stop, have a laugh, and argue about whether spring is coming. It connects us, and that's pretty cool. So, I've got to ask you, forget the stats for a minute. What's your gut feeling for 2026? Are you team more winter or team early?